I have every single new Apple Watch here from the SE3 to the Series 11 and the Ultra 3, and I've been testing them for the past few days. Today I'm going to share my thoughts, what I think about these brand new watches. They're pretty revolutionary. There's some massive updates that make all three of these watches really amazing, and there's one reason I actually fell in love with potentially the SE watch. So let's get into it. Now I'll first talk about their newest features. So the Ultra 3 now has satellite connectivity where you can send messages, do Find My, and emergency SOS directly from your watch. You do not need a phone. Now have hypertension notification, sleep score, which actually applies to the Series 9 and Ultra 2 as well. Sleep score will be available on all watches that do sleep tracking, as well as third-party devices that will write your sleep data to Apple Health. And emergency SOS on the Apple Watch Ultra will be available in a ton of new countries. It's going to be in Australia, Austria, Belgium, Canada, France, Germany, Ireland, Italy, Japan, Luxembourg, Netherlands, New Zealand, Portugal, Spain, Switzerland, UK, and messages will be available in Canada, Mexico, and the US. So as long as you have a cellular data plan, you'll be able to use Find My messages. Emergency SOS will be available for 2 years on the Apple Watch Ultra 3. Now, with the new hypertension notifications, you'll be able to set this up inside of your Apple Health. It just got approved and it will be available very soon to all of the watches. All you need to do is make sure your software is up to date. And this is how it works. So you have to wear the device during the day. You need to get at least 14 days of data within a 30-day period. And after 30 days, the watch will notify you if you have hypertension, which is chronic high blood pressure. The Apple Watch is not going to give you your blood pressure reading, so you're not going to get the exact blood pressure reading on a day basis or on a as needed basis. That's what a blood pressure cuff will be for, but this will kind of give you insights into should I be checking my blood pressure, and hopefully this will save a ton of lives and help improve health for a lot of people. And then you'll be able to easily log your blood pressure into the Apple Health app using the iPhone, or you can even use Siri. Like when I go to the doctor's office and they measure my blood pressure, I'll be like, command voice, log my blood pressure as 120/70, and it will save it to Apple Health. So that's the easiest way to do it without having to type it in manually on your phone. Once you've gotten that notification, it'll start a logging period. It will remind you to measure it in the morning and at night, and then you can share this. You can export the PDF to share with your doctor as needed. Look at that. I've been actually measuring my blood pressure using an Apple Health integrated device, so I can see my data here and share it with my doctor. So if you want to make it seamless, that is a great combination, Apple Watch plus blood pressure cuff. And notice this will not work if you already have a diagnosis of hypertension. Should not be used during pregnancy, and you have to be 22 years and older. This will also work on the Series 9 and the Ultra 2 and up. It will be available very soon. I'll be sure to post about it on my Instagram, so follow me at Shervin. Next up is a sleep score. So this will be available if you have any Apple Watch that tracks your sleep, as well as any third-party device that writes your sleep data to Apple Health. How this was actually calculated is they're using 50% of that point from duration, 30% from bedtime, and 20 from interruptions. So that's your sleep stages. And then that total amount will tell you a number out of 100. And you get, well, I haven't been sleeping well, but you might get a high score. You know, these nights I slept pretty well, excellent, very low, high, high, high. And this is actually retroactive. So this was not available months ago, but because I tracked my sleep, it will pop up. So for example, on August 25th, I had sleep information logged on Apple Health, and you can see that information. So as soon as you download the new update, you'll also be able to get a sleep score for all the past data you have inside of Apple Health. If you have a third-party wearable, sync that information to Apple Health, like a Whoop or an Oura Ring. All three watches now have 5G cellular, so that's going to make throughput of getting podcasts, music, and downloading apps much faster and easier. So I'm very excited to be using that. And honestly, one thing that I've learned is I don't use the cellular very often unless my iPhone dies, then I will. But I have noticed the speeds of being able to do Siri requests that require internet, as well as playing music, is just faster to start up and faster to keep going. And it's power efficient. There are going to be dual antennas in all three of these watches, where it will be able to turn specific antennas on and off based on where you are and if the connection is good or bad. And it just adds to efficiency, and that's why the battery life on all these watches are going to be much more improved. Now, in terms of the heart rate tracking, I decided to wear the AirPods Pro 3 with the Apple Watch Series 11, the Garmin 970, with the chest heart rate strap, and the Ultra 3 and Series 11. And this is the heart rate data. From the general graph, it looks like everything is on par. The only thing that pops out here and there is maybe the green, which right here you can see the green pops out the most. And those are the AirPods Pro 3. So those seem to have the most trouble. Right here is the Garmin 970 heart rate strap. But it seems like all three of the Apple Watches were in synchronicity because all the data was pretty close. Like, it's hard to say that anything popped out. Maybe over here, the AirPods Pro 3 popped out the most. But everyone else, the SE3, the Series 11, and the Ultra 3 seem to have very similar data. If we got on the average heart rate, they're all within 1 to 2 beats of each other. The only one, maybe the Apple Watch Ultra 3. Interesting. I wouldn't say this is the best test because I was wearing all the watches on my wrists, so there could be some interference with the heart rate data, but this is a quick sample size. Now, what about the GPS? So looking at the GPS data, the Ultra 3 should have the best GPS because it has dual band frequency, as well as the iPhone 16 Pro Max also has dual frequency, which was connected to the AirPods Pro 3 here. So the Ultra 3 is in yellow. You can see that seem to have the most straight lines. The AirPods Pro 3 iPhone seem to pop out a bit here. But for the most part, in this busy New York City section, it did well. I did loop around here, and you can see how some of them differed a little bit. But overall, like, they're straight on top of each other. Maybe right here, we had some issues with the iPhone and AirPods. The Series 11 seemed to pop out here. It looks like the SE3 had no issues, which is so interesting. Right here, we can see the Series 11 popped up just a little bit. That's so interesting for the Series 11. Maybe it was just placement on my wrist where it was. Seemed to have a little more right here. It also jumped out a bit from the group. But everyone was on top of each other, and I would say the GPS tracks are pretty strong. So I'd say battery life has drastically improved across the board. I was using GPS. They were not connected to phones. The Ultra 3 was connected to cellular, but none of these devices were connected to any phone because you do not need cellular to track your GPS routes. I think a lot of people mess that up. From a running perspective, I'm going to run the Chicago Marathon with all 3 of these new watches. So subscribe if you want to see that. I will have a donation link down below for my Chicago Marathon race. I'm actually running Berlin as well this weekend too. I think all these will last a marathon. The Ultra 3 lost about 12%. The Series 11 lost 11%. The SE3 lost 12%, and the AirPods lost 30% on an hour and 15-minute run. If you're running a 3 to 4 hour marathon, most likely going to lose, 40, 50%, which is about half the battery life. And the AirPods should last most average marathons. But I'm going to test that out. And how do the speakers of these watches compare? Now the design and form factor. So the Apple Watch Ultra 2 next to it, the screens are going to be slightly bigger. When the screen is full of stuff on the watch face, it just becomes easier to notice that. The nits are still 3000 nits on both devices. It does show a different thickness on the Apple Watch website, but they're just measuring it differently to standardize how they do it. So that's why the numbers are slightly different. But if I put them side by side, the hardware and casing looks almost exactly the same to me. The size is pretty much the same. I would not be able to differentiate between each of these. The action button is all the same. The colors, maybe it's the lighting, but it looks slightly different. But this should be the same color. But now the casing and everything should be exactly the same on the Ultra 3. The biggest upgrades are on the Series 11s. Series 10 on the left, Series 11 on the right. And it's going to actually say 46mm cellular GPS, the new Ion X glass. So the Series 11 and the SE3 are going to have the new Ion X glass for 2 times more resistance on the screen, scratch resistance on the screen versus the last year's model, and then 4 times on the SE versus last year's model. They're going to have the same LTPO3 display, so you can actually view it from an angle when it's on, and you have that 1 Hz refresh rate, which is now also on the Apple Watch Ultra 3. So you have those watch faces. Look at that. Boom, boom. It's refreshing. The form factor has stayed essentially the same on the new model, but you do have 5G cellular in this. The battery life has improved on the Series 11. We're going to get 24 hours of battery life versus 18 hours of battery life. It's the same processor, the S10. We'll get the wrist flick, the double tap, and we have cool new watch faces like where you can get 8 hours of normal use with 15 minutes of charging. There are some new Apple Watch Hermes bands, the Faubourg Potty and the Grand H Pin, which I don't have here, but if you want me to do another Apple Watch accessory watch band video, let me know in the comments below. The SE3 is now out. So this is the SE2 in 40mm and the SE3 in 44mm. So the sizes are obviously different. This is a new space gray color. I actually really like this color. It feels like it's black, but not too dark. You can see right here, it says Apple Watch SE. Aluminum 40mm, the new Ion X glass, GPS cellular. And the fancy thing about the new SE3 is it has the same battery life as the old Series 10, 18 hours of battery life, 1000 nits, 5G cellular, audio playback on the speaker, 4 times more resistance to cracks than the old model. There's a 44 and 40mm model, fast charging, which 15 minutes of charge will get you 8 hours. Temperature sensing, ovulation estimate, sleep score, sleep apnea notifications. So that's what the thing I'm excited about. They added so many more health features to the Apple Watch SE3 because now it has the S10 chip, like the Series 11 and the Ultra 3. So a lot of those features came down to this device. The things it does not have: no ECG, no blood oxygen, no depth gauge and water temperature sensor, and no precision Find My with your iPhone. So you won't be able to be like, oh, it's 3 feet away, 3 feet away. you'll kind of be able to get a ping and be able to find your iPhone, but not in the same precision level as the Series 11 and the Ultra 3. But with the new S10 chip, we'll get on-device Siri, so you can make requests for simple requests. It does it on-device, no internet needed. You get the wrist flick, which is this. I've been using that a lot to push away notifications. You get the double tap, which you can double tap to send messages to confirm any prompts that show up on your screen. And we get voice isolation on calls. So when it's really loud outside, they are going to use the on-device S10 with algorithms to be able to get rid of the outside noise so you can have a easy to use phone call and understand what's happening. And these are all in addition to the health features that were already available on these watches, which is heart rate tracking, AFib history, blood oxygen, not available on the SE, wrist temperature, cycle tracking, time in daylight, environmental sound level notifications, sleep tracking, and Siri with Apple Health. We can log your body weight, your blood pressure, any Apple Health information straight from Siri on your watch. The new screen updates to the Ultra 3 is the LTPO3 screen, where it has a 1 Hz refresh rate. You can see the seconds update every second. You're actually getting more battery life, 42 hours of battery life, 14-hour outdoor workout, 72 hours in low power mode, and a 15-minute charge will get you 12 hours of normal use. So we are getting much faster and better charging on the Ultra 3, which I really love because the old Ultra 2 would take a little bit too long to charge sometimes. The new bands on the Ultra 3 are gonna have this reflective band right here. This is the green version. You can see the reflective piece right there. We go ahead and put a light on it. It just makes it easier for people to see you when you're running around with this watch. Obviously, I'm a big fan of the ocean band right here. This is the Ultra 2, but now there's a neon green band. So this is going to be cool because it pops. It's bright green for the new Ultra 3. And we'll also have an Hermes Scuba H diving watch band. If you want to see a video where I test all the watch bands once again, let me know in the comments below. Now, quick, what are the massive differences between the SE3, the Series 11, and the Ultra 3? Which one should you buy? They've upgraded the hardware so much that all these watches are truly amazing. It can be one deciding factor is price. Obviously, the SE3 starts at $249, the Series 11 $399, and the Ultra 3 at $799. And then also size, depending on the size case that you want. But from a screen perspective, you get 1000 nits on the SE3, 2000 on the Series 11, and 3000 on the Ultra 3. So they get brighter. The 1 Hz always refreshing is on the Series 11 and Ultra 3. You don't get ECG or hypertension on the SE3. You don't get blood oxygen, but you do get sleep tracking and sleep apnea notifications, temperature sensing, cycle tracking. You get emergency SOS, but the satellite emergency SOS is only available on the Ultra 3. You only get the siren on the Ultra 3, and then water resistance is 100 meters on the Ultra 3 versus 50 on the Series 11 and SE3. And then the water and depth gauge are only available on the top 2 watches. And the Ultra 3 has precision dual frequency GPS for better accuracy. We'll dive into that right after this. Whereas the Series 11 SE3 just have classic GPS, and they're all 5G capable with S10 chips with all the cool newest gestures. And the battery life has improved across the board for all the devices. And the fast charging here, as you can see, is pretty similar. Now, which one would I buy? I think if you're trying to save money, you want a watch that tracks most of the new health metrics, get the SE3. It is a great watch, 18 hours, it's solid. The price is incredible for the value that you're getting. If you want those new little features on the Series 11, like ECG, blood oxygen, precision find my, and just a little bit better battery life, then it could be worth upgrading, as well as a bigger screen, bigger size. But I think at that point, go with the Ultra 3, spend the extra dollar, get the extra amount and layers of features, the outstanding battery life on the Ultra 3. So I think for me, it's like save your money, get the SE, or pay the big bucks and get the Ultra 3. I'm very excited. I'll keep testing these watches. I'll do a day in the life with whatever is the top voted watch in the comments. So do you want to see a day in the life with the Ultra 3, the Series 11, or the SE3? Comment that down below. My name is Shervin. Follow me on Instagram, all the socials at Shervin. Subscribe, turn on notifications. See you in the next one. Peace.